Hello guys, I'm back from another video and today we're about what if Deku was in high school DxD. So lastly we talked about how, after waking up and doing all of his things, mostly, doing some chores and also other tasks, he would basically tell, the rest of his, fallen angel buddies to basically do, some grocery work and also some other stuff. After leaving, he would basically be all alone. And after a while, he would hear the door, you know, he would hear the sound of like knocking from his door. And after basically opening the front door, he would, encounter his childhood best friend, you know, Irina, Irina, what is her name again? Irina Shiru. And not only that, her friend, Zenobia Corda. And also, after meeting with them, they would basically talk and they would explain why they're there. But after his fallen angel buddies basically arrived back at home, what are their names again? God damn. His fallen angel friends by the names of Cowwinner, Rainer, and finally, Millet. And after being with them, they would basically go into a fighting stance thinking that they're going to attack them. But thankfully, Izuku basically de-escalated the situation, and after, a bit of talking and convincing, thankfully they basically decided to stop. And after explaining what he is, aka after showing his powers to them firsthand, they're pretty much surprised. But for, to Zenobia, she would think that Izuku is probably the bad guy. But thankfully, he was able to convince her that he's not really a bad guy, and not really that evil. Also, after a while of also explaining some other stuff, they would basically, get ready to eat dinner. And so, after basically eating dinner, they would basically all leave. Most of them. Izuku basically, created not really created, but more like, gave them a little bit of a tour to his basement where he showed off some of his abilities and told them some information about himself, which they were pretty much impressed, including, Zenobia, as Zenobia would start to think that Izuku's the perfect man, quote unquote. And after saying that, Izuku would basically tell them to basically get ready for, sleeping. And so after basically getting the futon and basically sitting down, he would say goodnight to them. And so we basically left off the episode where Izuku is basically explaining to, to the two heiresses, aka, one of them is basically his, soon to be wife, aka, Sona, and also, the Grimoire heiress, aka Riaz. And also telling, he said that, both their, childhood friends, aka, Riaz, not Riaz, I meant, Sona, not Sona, I meant, Irina, god dang it. Anyway, so, after basically explaining that Irina's here, she was pretty much, surprised, that she's actually here. And so, after basically telling them that, and also why they're here, Izuku would basically, go to his bed and would instantly fall asleep. So, that's basically what happened last episode. And so, let us talk about what happens next, ladies and gents. And also, before we start, Happy New Year's, or at least, soon. And also, I recently got a notification that I'm sort of able to, make streams now, but, apparently I can't use the next, button at all. So I'm still trying to, fix that part, so yeah. Anyway, and also, a little bit of an announcement, sort of. I'm going to be making a sort of series where I'm going to be doing a Q&A session in that series, and also going to be showing off some of the drawings that I did over the years. So, it's probably going to start sooner or later until maybe a holiday, maybe Atiatian. Which, by the way, Atiatian is one of my least favorite holidays, even though, it's one of the most popular holidays in the Philippines. The reason why I don't like it is because, it's a little bit too noisy. But either way, let's start off the video, shall we, ladies and gents? So, we currently see, the rest of the group, mostly, from the orc and also, from the student council, basically getting ready for the arrival of Izuku and the rest of the, and the two, priests, or the two, churchgoers. as we go back to Izuku. As Izuku is basically, getting ready, as it's currently nighttime. As Izuku would say this, "Hey, girls, are you ready?" He would say, as, Sona would say, not Sona, I meant, Irina would say this. Yeah, pretty much said, Irina. As for, well, Zenobia, she would say this. Yeah, pretty much, she would say, as she would say this. Now, let's go, he would say. After saying that, he would basically say goodbye to, all three of his roommates and told them to basically take care of the house. After saying so, he would start leaving with them. So, after a while of walking to the school, they would finally arrive as we currently see, the orc room basically lit up. Or more specifically, the old, clubhouse there is basically lit up. As he would say this. "Come on, let's go," he would say. As he would basically, just be going there as, both of them are basically, wearing, their battle outfits. As Zenobia would say this. So, is this safe? Said, well, Zenobia, as he would say this. Yeah, pretty much. And trust me, they won't attack you. I would try and convince him not to, at least, he would say. As after saying that, both of them would, would be a little bit what do you call it? Basically skeptical. And so, after arriving at the orc and basically knocking on the door would basically open, revealing Kiba, as Kiba would say this. "Ah, hello there, Midoriya-san," he would say, when she would say, as he would say this. Hello there, Kiba, Kiba-kun, he would say, as he would look behind him and would see, the two churchgoers, as her eyes would basically narrow a little bit, but she would compose herself as she would say this. "Very well then, come inside," she would say, and after doing so, they would basically go in and would see, several of the orc members, including, Rias and also the student council, as Zenobia would basically introduce herself. "My name is Zenobia Korda, and I'm, one of the churchgoers," she would say, as Irina would basically introduce herself, as she would look over and would see Issei, as she would say this. "Well, it's been a while, Issei," she would say with a cold tone, as she would say this. "Oh, hi Irina," she would say, as she would say this. "Don't talk to me. Because you're a devil now," she would say, as she was basically taken aback a little bit. As after saying that, Izuku would say this. "Hey, Irina, don't be so cold," he would say, as she would say this. Fine, but I'm still pretty much still conflicted because of her choices," she would say. As after saying that, he would say this. "Yeah, I do have to agree, but still," he would say. As after saying that, one of them specifically, Rias would say this. "Ah, welcome. Now, may I ask, why are you here exactly?" she would say, as she would say this. "Well, it seems that a few, fallen angels have arrived here and sort of gotten the, Excalibur pieces," she would say, as one of them would say this. "Really then," said, a pretty surprised, what is that called? A really surprised Sona, as she would say this. "Yes, and so we came here to basically take care of it. The only thing that we ask of you is to not interfere," she would say, as, Rias would say this. "But this is my territory, so I have to help," she would say. Or, "Stop this," she would say. As after saying that, Zenobia would say this. "It's not your, place to do anything, you damn lowlife," she would say. As Izuku, after hearing that, he would say, "Hey, Zenobia, can you please don't do that? I mean, I don't really want you, two of you to fight." As after saying that, one of them would say this. Specifically, Kiba. "So, may I ask, what are these Excalibur pieces, and how many did they get?" she would say. As, one of them would say this. "Well, they only stolen a few. We currently have, two of the Excalibur pieces right here." As after hearing that, Kiba would say this. "Really?" she would say. As, one of them would say this. "Yes." As for, Zenobia would basically look over and would see, well, Irina. Not Irina, I meant, what's his name? Ashia, I meant. As after seeing Ashia, she would say this. "Ah, Ashia Ogento. The damn witch," she would say. As after saying that, she would say this. "What?" she would say. As she would say this. Well, this is not obvious. After you basically fled the church and basically became an excommunicated nun, it seems that you became a witch. And so because of that, we thought of you as nothing more than a monster, she would say. But to think that you would join the devils, she would say, as, she would say this. Well, you see, they sort of saved me, she would say, as she would say this. Saved you. I see. As, after saying that, Ashia would say this. Yeah, but I still believe in God, she would say, as both of them would pretty much be surprised, as, Irina would say this. Wait, you still believe in God? Don't joke around. Besides, you're a devil now, so it probably would hurt, as she would say this. No, I mean it still hurts, but I can still believe in him, even if I hurt because of it, she would say, as they were sort of taken aback. After hearing that, one of them would say this, specifically, said Zenobia, as Zenobia would say this. I see, she would say. Then, let me ask you this. As she would basically pull out her, her Excalibur. Specifically, Excalibur Destruction? At least I think that's the name. If I'm wrong, just comment just comment down below, as she would say this. Then, how about I should kill you, she would say. After saying that, all of them would just be surprised, as Izuku would say this. Wait, Zenobia would say this. Why? I mean, it makes sense. After all, it would just be a mercy kill. After all, she did, she wants, redemption against her past actions, she would say. And so why not, she would say. As Irina would say this. I do agree, but as she would look towards Izuku, as she would say this. Try not to interfere, she would say. As Izuku would say this. But as before they can do anything else, Kiba would basically jump in and would basically, grab a sword thanks to help of his, or her, I almost said Noble Phantasm. God damn it. I meant Sacred Gear. As her Sacred Gear was Sword Birth. As she would create two swords, as she would say this. Not gonna let that happen, she would say with an angry tone. As she would charge towards, Irina and also, Zenobia, as they would start to clash. As, after seeing it, Izuku would decide to stop it. And so, he would decide to use, his Rinkaku to basically stop it. After summoning in his Rinkaku, they would basically wrap around all three of the, three of the people, or in this case, girls, because, Izuku doesn't really know that Kiba is actually a girl, so he still thinks it's a boy, so, yeah. As after doing so, he would say this. Can both of you stop? He would, not both, I meant, can all of you stop? He would say, as all of them would just look towards Izuku, as, Kiba would say this. Wait, let me go, Izuku, she would say, as Izuku would say this. If both of you stop fighting, how about this, he would say. Just have a little match in the woods, so we won't cause any trouble, he would say, as, Riaz would say this. That sounds like a great idea, she would say, said, Riaz, as it would cause, Sona to become a little bit, annoyed after hearing that, as Izuku would say this. Now, get outside, he would say, as after saying that, all three of them would basically go outside. And so, after doing so, we go to a little time skip. So, after the time skip, we currently see, Izuku there with the rest of the orc and also the, God dang it. He would basically be with the rest of the others as they're currently looking at, at a fight scene. Not really fight scene, but more like the battlefield. As we currently see, Kiba, Zenobia, and also, Irina basically on opposite sides. As, both of them are basically looking towards Kiba. As Izuku would see this. Well, it seems sort of unfair, so I should probably join in. After saying that, both the girls would look at him, as one of them would say this. Wait, Izuku, wait. As before she can say anything else, she would basically stop, as she would say this. I guess it's a test of God, she would say. As Izuku would say this. Come again, he would say, as she would say this. This is a test from God, to basically, to try and kill you. As after saying that, he would say this. Excuse me, what? As she would say this. Yes, she would say, as she would grab her sword, as she would say this. I will strike you down. This is a mercy killing, so it can stop you from marrying that devil bitch, she would say. As after saying that, she would basically get ready to use her Excalibur, which is Excalibur Mimic? Actually, let me just check again. Well, it seems that the electricity has gone off. God fucking damn it. Guess I'll just continue it, even though it's currently just like freaking hot. Why that? God dang it. Anyway, continuing on, as she would basically grab, Excalibur Mimic, as she would say this. So, what is that Excalibur exactly, he would say, as she would say this? Well, this is Excalibur Mimic. It allows me to copy anything, or transform it into anything that I want, she would say, as she would start transforming it into some sort of katana, as he would say this. Huh, interesting, he would say, as he would basically grab, his suitcase, as, after doing so, he would summon out his, Queen K, as the Queen K would basically be swung around his body, as he would basically grab it and would basically swing it around even more, creating a little, scorch mark from from the slashes that he created, as he would say this. Now, let's show you something a little bit more interesting, he would say, as he would start, consuming his arm, not really consuming, but more like, sprouting, how do we say this? Yeah, he would start sprouting out, fallen angel wings, as he would say this. Now, let's truly have a good fight, he would say, looking towards Irina and also Zenobia, as both of them would basically get ready with their, respective, swords. And so, the fight would begin. Oh, thank God, the electricity is back. It's been a few hours ever since the electricity's gone off. More specifically 2 hours, which by the way was hell. So finally I'm back. So as the battle would start, Izuku would basically charge over there with his Kagane fully in view. As he starts using his his Kaukaku with his Queen K to basically start slashing at Irina. Irina would basically get the full brunt of his attacks as she would start, trying to slash him with, her, slices of magic. More specifically, light magic, which doesn't affect him all that much. Because he literally swallowed up, thousands upon thousands of, fallen angel DNA. As after, doing so, he would basically create, a few darkened flames with the help of the Phoenix DNA that he created. Not really created, but more gotten. As after doing so, she would basically dodge it away and would basically charge towards him once again. As she would create a large, how do I say this? Yes, a large slash with, with her katana. As after doing so, he would basically dodge out of the way once again as he would start using, one of his abilities. Or at least one of the abilities that he, gotten over, over the years. Which is, one of the DNA of a certain, a certain, rogue fallen angel. Not a rogue fallen angel, I meant rogue devil. In this case, he would start gaining the ability to basically, see to the future about a few minutes in. As he would basically see, a few fights from, Irina and him, as after doing so, Irina would basically charge right in front of him, as he's right, almost in front of him, as in, almost ready to basically slice him in half, as Izuku would basically kick her right in the stomach, causing her to cough out blood, as she would be launched up into the sky, as Izuku would create, his angel slash, devil, almost phoenix-like wings, as he would start flying over there, as he would basically get ready for another punch, and would basically cause her to fall to the ground, instantly basically cracking the ground. After doing so, she would basically be, knocked out, as he would say this. That was easy, he would say, as he would look over and would see, an angry-ass Kiba. Kiba is basically rage-fueled, as instead of, fighting, with her simple, attacks, more specifically, the more, simple, almost, more smart-like attacks, instead, it's more like she became a berserker-class servant than anything else. Well, for Zenobia, thanks to the help of her, Excalibur, I almost said Galatine or Excalibur Morgar. God damn it! I meant Excalibur Destruction. She would start, well, bashing the head of like Kiba, which caused her a lot of damage because it's a holy sword. As while she was basically fighting against Kiba, she would basically start cutting him apart, basically causing him to basically have like several scars around her body because remember, light magic and it's a holy sword. So yeah, it's a pretty bad combination. As while Kiba is basically still raged, she would say, "I'm gonna destroy that damn sword," she would say. As after while doing so, Izuku would decide to step in. As before they can actually, clash swords once again, Izuku would step in and would basically, hold the swords with just one finger. Just imagine, that certain scene in like, in, Bleach, where, Aizen's basically holding down, I think it was called Kontetsu? Actually, I can't remember the actual name of like, of Ichigo's Bankai. I can't remember the name of it. So, just imagine that certain scene where, his sword is basically being, just being, touched just by one finger by Aizen. And that basically stopped the attack. So, after doing so, both of them would just be wide-eyed as he would say this. "Alright, Kiba, stop," he would say. As she would say this, "I want to get my revenge on that stupid sword," she would say. As he would say this. "I said calm down," he would say. As before she can actually say anything else, she was basically told to stop by Riaz, and after doing so, she would basically stop, as her eyes would just be angry. And so she would basically start to leave. After doing so, he would start looking towards, Zenovia, as Zenovia would say this. What is it?" "What is it?" she would say, as he would say this. "Maybe next time try not to, go overboard. Besides, if you do, you could probably cause a bit of trouble." As after saying that, she would say this. "Whatever," she would say. And after saying that, we currently see both of them basically, going home. Not really going home, but more like going back to, where, Izuku lives. As after doing so, Izuku would say this. "Guess I'll just have to take care of it," he would say. As he would start waving goodbye to, to the org and also the, student council. After doing so, he would start leaving to go where, both Zenovia and also Irina are leaving to, aka where his home is. So, we go back to, Sona, as she would say, "I just hope they don't do anything to my Izuku," she would say. As, after saying that a little bit out loud, which was a bit of a whisper, but a few basically heard that, like for example Kaneko, and, even, well, a certain red-haired, power-hungry bitch over there, both of them would become a little bit, angry to say the least. Not really, Kaneko to say the least. I mean, Kaneko is basically just like neutral towards Izuku than anything else. But for, for Ria as well, she's a bit, hungry for that, Actually, I'm not even gonna say it, to say the least, God. And, we go back to Izuku. So, while Izuku is basically right behind them, he would say, "Hey, maybe next time try not to, leave me there," he would say. As, Zenovia would say this. "Yeah, sorry," she would say. As he would say this. "So, as she would say this. Still breathing. Still probably knocked out," she would say. As he would say this. "I see," he would say. But before they can actually continue on basically going their way, they would be stopped. As Izuku would look over and would see a fallen angel. As the fallen angel would say this. "So, I'm guessing you're the ones that are keeping the 2 other Excalibur fragments," he would say. As after saying that, he would say this. "So what?" he would say. As after looking at him, he would say this. "Tuh, a pathetic human. I'm guessing that you're probably just a pathetic little devil or something. After all, I heard that you're actually a little friend of Sona's, so I think that you're probably a peerage member," he would say. As he would say this. Wrong, I guess. I mean, I'm not technically her peerage member. Yet," he would say. After saying that, Zenobia would look at him as she would say, "Wait, what?" As he would say this. "What? I'm maybe planning to basically, become her peerage member. But first, I mean to get a lot of DNA to basically counteract the devil DNA, he would say. As, the fallen angel would say this. Stop ignoring me, you pathetic human, he would say. As he would say this. Now, time for me to take what's ours, he would say. As he would start creating a little light spear from his hand, as he would start throwing it towards Izuku. As he would say this. Don't make me fucking laugh, he would say, as he would have his, signature, manic grin, as the blast of, or at least, the Holy Spear would just be blocked by a wave of almost, power of destruction-based magic, as he would say, what? You said that... wait, I thought you said that you were the devil, he would say, as he would say this. Well, not technically. I did fuse myself with a few, interesting DNA, he would say, as he would say this. Now, come forth. Zenogre, he would say, as his familiar would basically appear. A large, three-headed... Actually, I'm just gonna say it. It's basically just a Stygian Zenogre, but, with 3 heads, basically like Cerberus, as he would bark, with a large, like a gust of wind would basically appear after he barked, causing the, fallen angel to basically fall backwards, as he would say. What the hell? He would say, as he would say this. I guess you could say that I'm all-powerful, he would say. But either way, he would say, as he would start grabbing onto his sword. More specifically, he would start creating, a holy blade, emblazoned with a bit of, a little bit of, darkness-based magic, more specifically, the power of destruction, as he would say this. Now, let's try this out, he would say, as he would say this. Twilight, he would say, as after doing so, he would create a large slash, which, after mixing with a bit of, the fallen angel, energy, as in, the holy energy from the holy sword, but mixed with the demonic, power of destruction-based energy, as it would slam into the, fallen angel, causing him to basically be, cut in half instantly. As after doing so, he would basically, deactivate the sword, as it would disappear, turning into nothing more than dust. As after doing so, he would look towards, Zenovia, as Zenovia would just be impressed. As she would say, that was... As he would say this. Yeah, wonderful, he would say. Now, anyway, we should probably get back before any more can... But before he can, he was stopped by, a large, gust of wind basically appearing right beside him. As... After doing so, Zenovia would be knocked down to the ground, including, Irina. As she would say, what was... Wait... As she would start, touching a bit of her back, as she would say, wait, where's my Excalibur, she would say. As she would start looking towards, where Irina is, as she would say, wait, where's Excalibur Mimic? Where's my Excalibur Destruction, she would say. As they would hear, hi, as they would look over and would see a cat boy? It's basically a Mekamata. As he would say this, Guten Tag, he would say. As he would say this, great, a German, he would say. As he would say this, oh, you don't really need to be mad. Besides, my little friend over here is probably gonna have a lot of fun when we finally meet, he would say. The name's Schrodinger, he would say. And yes, that's Schrodinger, from, Hellsing Ultimate. He's now my favorite character, you can probably guess. Oh, god dang it. Seriously, his, overpowered ability is so badass, in my opinion. Anyway, continuing on. Sorry about that. Anyway, continuing on. As, Izuku would say this. What the... As he would say this. Oh, come on, you don't really need to be that bad. Actually, my German accent sounds pretty bad. It's been a while since I actually did my German accent, so I sort of forgotten how to do that. The only accents that I'm able to sort of do are my German, British, and also sort of my, my Scottish accent. I'm also starting to learn a little bit of, a Indian accent, which, by the way, sounds horrible, and I'm not gonna use that ever. So, as he would say this. Now, anyway, I should probably bring this back to Kokobile. He's probably pretty mad, he would say, as he would say this. Why you, he would say, specifically Izuku, as he would start using his, Ukaku to basically start firing off little blasts, which resemble bones, as before he can actually, shoot them off, he would basically jump out of the way as he would get stabbed by them in the heart. causing him to fall to the ground. As you would say, huh, got him. But before he can actually, get there, he would disappear in a block of smoke, as he would say, wait, what in the... As you would look back and would see, the Nekomata boy would say this, oh, you don't really mean to be that bad. I mean, yo, you don't really mean to be that bad, he would say. Anyway, say la vie, he would say, as you would start moving away, as you would disappear out of thin air, as you would say, shit, he would say, as before you can actually get to him, he just disappears, as you would say, shit, 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 he would say, as Zenobia would say this, oh, this is bad, she would say, as he would say this, oh, you think, he would say, as she would say this, whatever they're doing with the Excaliburs, it's definitely not good, she would say. As he would say this, yeah, we should probably report this to Rias and also, to, Sona. As she would say this, yeah, I guess so. Still not gonna be working with them. As he would say this. But, she would say, as he would say this. But what? He would say, as she would say this. But, we're going to be working with you. After all, you're not associated with the devils. Sort of, she would say. As he would say this. I can't tell if that's flattery or something else, he would say. As she would say this. Whatever, she would say. As after saying that, they would start leaving, going back home. They would basically be back home as Izuku is basically reporting everything to, Sona and, Rias, as both of them are pretty much, angry knowing that. As, Izuku would say this. This is certainly going to be annoying, he would say. As after saying that, Sona would say this. So, Izuku, she would say. As he would say this. Yeah, he would say. As she would say this. Don't be late for school tomorrow. Even though that we're currently, undergoing a little bit of an operation right now. Especially with, what is happening, right now in our territory. You need to, still be attending school, she would say. As he would say this. Yeah, I know, don't worry, he would say. As she would say this. Good, now, get some sleep. As after saying that, she would say, good night, she would say, and love you, she would say, as he would say this. Yeah, good night and love you, he would say. As after finishing the call, Zenobia and in a week, Irina are a little bit, awkward after hearing that love you part. As, Irina would say this. You feel a little bit tired, she would say, as she would say this. Yeah, I guess so. So, how's dinner, I guess, she would say, as she would say this. Yeah, good, she would say. I mean, your cooking is pretty good, she would say, as she would say this. Now, I will be setting off the futon, he would say. As after basically, setting off the futon, he would basically tell them both to basically get some sleep. And so, we go back to Izuku as he would basically go to sleep on his, bed. So, we go to, to more, we basically time skip to morning as Izuku's basically cooking up breakfast as he's basically wearing his uniform. As, one of them would say this, specifically Zenobia. So, what time when you're coming back? As he would say this. Maybe late afternoon, maybe. I mean, I still have to, deal with, well, you see, I'm also, being forced to be the helper of, of Sona, he would say, as one of them would say this. I see, said, a pretty disappointed, Irina, as he would say this. What is that attitude, he would say, as she would say this. It's nothing, she would say. As after saying that, Izuku would basically see his, alarm clock, as he would say, oh, gotta run, he would say. As after saying that, he would basically say goodbye to both of them, including, all three of his, sort of like roommates. And so, we go back to Izuku basically at school. So, Izuku's just doing normal classes, and, wait for a second. Sorry about that. Anyway, continuing on with the episode, as we currently see, Izuku basically in class, as he's currently listening to some lectures. As nearby, he would basically see, apparently they actually, basically basically in the same class. More specifically, that student is Kiba. As currently we see, Kiba basically a little bit angry and a little bit agitated for some odd reason. as currently Izuku's basically like sitting right next to her. Or him in this case, because he still doesn't know that it's actually a her. So, after class, they're basically told to basically go to, to the swimming pool. As this, this time it's going to be like a special, like, swimming based, well, class. Which, Izuku is sort of, not really into it, like at all. I mean, he is good at swimming, things of that sort, pretty much good at swimming, but, this time he is not really interested, like at all. He's still pretty much thinking of why are they doing this? More specifically, why the fallen angels are grabbing all the, all the Excalibur pieces, which, he's starting to formulate, some ideas. Like, for example, either they're planning to, like, use it to basically destroy, well, the angel world, or at least, kill all of the devils there under, under, or at least, in the, in the nether realm, or, whatever you want to call it, the underworld, with, by combining all of them to create the original Excalibur, which he's not really, which he's starting to think that is probably a useless idea because, well, the Excaliburs are basically not really that strong. I mean, just a regular old, like, fallen angel, or at least, any type of fallen angel can easily just destroy some buildings in the underworld. But he also has another plan, or at least another idea of why they're planning to get all of the Excaliburs, which it's still a stretch to him. So, currently in class, well, every single boy now is currently just like gone. We currently see Izuku and also Kiba basically in the, changing room. While Izuku's basically changing his clothes, he would hear, Kiba basically slip. As she would say, well, as she would basically fall to the ground. As Izuku would say this, Kiba, are you okay? As you start walking up towards, where Kiba was. As she would say, wait, don't look, she would say. As after basically walking in, he would say, wait, are you okay? As after looking, he would notice that, Kiba, well, Kiba seems to have something a little bit interesting to say the least. First of all, there's several like bandages, more specifically like those bandages that are not for, not for like medical care, but instead more of the ones that are more like for, how do I say this? For like, covering up body parts. Well, they're like all over the floor. Not only that, there's a bit of like water basically, where he thinks that is where, well, Kiba slipped on. And not only that, he would start looking at Kiba, himself, or in this case, herself. You would see her basically just like on the floor as she's basically, strewn all about. Her legs were a little bit spread as you would notice something a little bit interesting on her, or, his slash, in this case, her chest, which, was, let's just say her, where her, regular old, like, chest was. Well, instead, there was some mighty fine badonkadongs, like, maybe, like, the same size as, like, Rias, like, Jesus, as he would say, as he would start, having that, that, completely red face, as Kiba would just be there, as she would just be embarrassed, as she would say, you, as she would basically summon out a sword, as she would say, typical stuff. Sorry about that, as she would basically say, you pervert, she would say, as she would basically create a sword, as she would start slashing at him, as he would say, wait, hold up, I didn't mean that, as he would start getting slashed a little bit, but thankfully, because of his regeneration, well, it basically heals up, but not only that, well, she would basically stab him right in the chest, as the sword would just be stuck in his chest, like instantly stuck, as she would say, let me, as she would basically try to get the sword out, as it would just be like, King Arthur and the, Caliburn sword. Why didn't I say Excalibur? Because, Caliburn, the actual sword in the stone is actually Caliburn, not, Excalibur. Which is a pretty, honest to God mistake, which I learned, pretty young. More specifically, back when it was, like, learning about the Fate series. Which, by the way, well, let's just say, when I first, heard of the Fate series, and after learning about, Artoria's story, well, oh boy, let's just say it was a bumpy ride, let's just say that. So, as after doing so, she would basically try to get out the sword, as you would say, First of all, you're a girl, he would say. As she would say this. Yeah, I know, but still, she would say. As she would basically get out the sword, and thankfully she does. As she would say this. And, first of all, yes, I am a girl. And as Ezekiel would say this, mind, answering my question, why did you pretend to be a boy? As she would say this. Let me explain, she would say then. But don't tell anybody about this, she would say. So, she would basically explain why is she, pretending to be a boy. Apparently the real reason is because she pretended to be a boy because, at the time, Kua was not really, a co-ed school at the time. So, they would decide to basically make one of the girl students, aka Kiba, into a boy. And so, would, finally, make this, used to be girls' school, a now, a now co-ed school. And so, because of that, well, that's all, basically. That's basically what it is, as Ezekiel would say this. I see, so you were pretending to be a boy so you can basically get, a lot of, people there. More specifically, as she would say this, yeah. Sacred gear users and other such strong beings, she would say. As he would say this. I see. So, I promise not to tell anybody. I swear, he would say. As she would say this. Good. Now, you have to take responsibility, she would say. As he would say this. What is that supposed to... As she would basically, grab onto, Izuku's, hand, as she would say this. As she would say this. You have to take responsibility. And if you don't, as she would start, where her chest is. Thankfully, she was wearing a bra at the time, as she would basically, force Izuku to basically hold on to the bra, as she would say this. I will just tell everybody that you basically molested me, she would say. As he would say this. I swear I won't do anything like that, he would say. As she would say this. Good, she would say. Now. As she would start walking off, as she would basically fully change into basically like a male outfit. But with a shirt. Basically like swimming trunks and a shirt. As for some odd reason, her chest basically just like deflated. Like, I guessing it's because of like the bandages, which, surprised Izuku, as he would say, wait, what happened to your... As she would say this. Well, it's basically like magic, bandages, she would say, as he would say this. I see, but still, he would say to himself, as, as she would say this. Come on, let's go, she would say. As she would say this. He would say this. Right, he would say. So, we basically, see Izuku and the rest of his, the rest of the other students basically doing the whole, test. Mostly just, doing swimming. And so, after doing so, we basically, see back at the classroom as everybody's basically getting ready to leave. Including Izuku and, Kiba. As Kiba is basically getting ready to leave, as Izuku would start leaving as well. As Kiba would say this. Hey, Izuku. As Izuku would look over to her, as he would say this. Yeah? He would say, as she would say this. Thank you for saving me, she would say. As he would say this. Don't really mention it, okay? As she would say this. Fine, she would say. But... next time, try not to, look at me in that way, she would say. As he would say this. Yeah, I know, I promise, he would say. And after saying that, we currently see Izuku basically leaving. Currently, we go to a different perspective. As we go to, somebody, with blackened hair, as, she seems to be wearing a Gothic Lydia type outfit, as she would say this. So... how interesting, she would say. And it seems that his sacred gear is starting to, manifest itself, she would say. As she would say this. Soon, my mate. I'll finally get to meet you, she would say. As after saying that, her wings would basically appear, resembling dragon-like wings, as she would slowly fly away. So, we're gonna be basically leaving this episode right off here. So, yeah. I hope you liked the video, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye-bye!